few miles before the summit of Douglas Pass, I heard cows mooing. I pulled over, looked down into the canyon, and there they were, cowboys with their stock dogs. This is so beautiful. It was a real cattle drive moving along the creek in 2025, a scene that could have been 150 years ago. In that moment, I thought, this is the life. Simple, free. Then the little girl I used to be whispered back. Whenever anyone asked what I wanted to be when I grew up, I always said the same thing, a cowboy. People laughed. I didn't understand why it was funny. But watching those cowboys, I felt her again. That wide-eyed little girl who believed that anything is possible. The West didn't just inspire John Otto to dream big. It had the same effect on me. And it's still inspiring. A few miles later, the road started climbing again, on the same cliff edges John Otto created as a cattle trail. This man's story touches my heart. He came here in 1906 and fell so deeply in love with these canyons that they became his life. He blasted trails by hand, lived in tents and caves, wrote endless letters to Washington, all to protect this place for everyone. His partner lasted a month before leaving with a line that says everything. I can't live with a man who finds even a cabin an encumbrance. John Otto had an amazing partnership with the land he called the heart of the world. This place gave him purpose and freedom, and he gave the land protection and a voice. In the end, they both won. He moved on to California and died there in 1952, without enough for a proper burial. Years later, people who never knew him raised money for a headstone. His legacy remains in the land he loved enough to fight for and the views he wanted us all to share. The plaque at the Visitor Center says it best. John Otto, first custodian of Colorado National Monument. Standing here on the rim, I felt admiration and gratitude. Just like the first stewards of this land, the Fremont people who left their marks thousands of years ago, Otto continued that same quiet devotion. He loved this place enough to give it everything. And then he set it free. I spent the next days hiking its trails, driving Rimrock Drive, and exploring the features Otto named with such imagination and patriotism. Getting to the rim wasn't always easy. The first route, the Serpent's Trail, was constructed beginning in 1912 through 1921. Amazingly, this route had 52 switchbacks and became known as Colorado's most dangerous road. The grades were so steep that early gravity-fed cars would stall going uphill. They had to drive up in reverse. So another road was built, the one we use today, Rimrock Drive. I have to admit, when I was planning this trip, I agonized over bringing the RV up here. The Park Service warns against it, especially for taller rigs, because of the tunnels. I read some threads from folks who said shorter RVs, both height and length, were usually okay. Then I think about driving in reverse up Serpent's Trail, an even narrower, steeper, more exposed route in vehicles with almost no suspension, thin tires, and no guardrails. It's totally insane. Hard to imagine the courage, or maybe sheer necessity, that made it everyday life back then. The new road was made possible by scores of young men in President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal program, the Civilian Conservation Corps, or CCC. I have a video linked if you'd like to watch more about this amazing program. Colorado National Monument was one of the first to utilize the CCC force and hosted 6 companies at 3 camps from 1933 to 1942 until World War II stopped their work. The young men of the CCC were guided by local experienced men. They learned rock quarrying, carpentry, road building, and stonemasonry, skills they used to create the paths, walls, buildings, and lookouts we still use. Evidence of their beautiful rustic and enduring craftsmanship, that classic parkitecture style, remains in parks across America. Here at the monument, this history feels especially close to me because the Saddlehorn campground where I camped was a CCC barracks site. To think, the hands of these young men made Otto's dream reachable for everyone. Long before Otto and the cowboys, this land had already been home to people for thousands of years. The Fremont were here from around 800 to 1300 AD. Farmers, hunters, gatherers who lived in harmony with these canyons. They left behind petroglyphs and pictographs on the cliffs, shapes and figures that still speak without words. Later came the Ute, the earliest continuous inhabitants of Colorado, skilled nomads who moved with the seasons, hunting, gathering, and after horses arrived, becoming even more deeply tied to this place. And the Navajo have connections here too, bringing their own rich traditions and artistry. As I walk these trails and stand on the rim, I feel the weight of that long history. These weren't just ancient people, they were stewards. They lived with the land, not against it, and left marks that still whisper today. I want to honor that legacy, the quiet devotion that came before me, and still lingers in every canyon and stone. As I hike the canyon rim trail, I think about the legacy of everyone who came before me and feel so grateful to be here today. Some of the junipers along the path are over 1,000 years old. They've stood through 25 generations of human history. Beautiful. Such a majestic place. Sound really travels here too. I don't know where to look first. The formations are everywhere. Independence Monument standing alone. It's especially striking. Now a monolith or single stone, it used to be part of a larger ridge, but over time the surrounding sections eroded away. Now it stands alone, and because of that, it's actually more vulnerable to weathering than when it had company. It's a quiet reminder from the land itself. We are stronger together. Then there's the formations with the quirky names like Praying Hands, Pipe Organ, Kissing Couple, the Coke Ovens. I felt like I had the entire trail to myself as I made my way toward the Fruta and Book Cliffs overlook. That is some overlook. She said there would be shade. That's nice. And what a view. Getting closer. Can't imagine ranchers driving cattle from up here. The Rim Trail and Book Cliff Shelter were built during Mission 66. This is the Park Service's push in the late 50s and early 60s to make parks more welcoming for the crowds coming for the 50th anniversary. Shady spot. And now, 150 years after the parks began, and 250 years into America's story, I feel that same invitation to walk, to look, to listen, and let these magnificent places keep inspiring me. There's a still small voice that speaks in the silence. I hear it most clearly in these beautiful places, and it has been calling across these 250 years of American independence. From the first Stewards, the indigenous people who were caretakers of these canyons long before anyone else, to the cowboys still riding with gritty independence, to John Otto, who climbed Independence Mountain on July 4th, 1911, hoisting the flag to celebrate freedom, a tradition that lives on today. He drilled iron rods into the rock so others could follow. He gave everything to make this place reachable for us. But even his vision had blind spots. The land was never empty when he arrived. The CCC men who built Rimrock Drive with hard work during the Depression, many of them went on to fight a war for the values they helped preserve. And yet, 250 years in, we still wrestle with what those values really mean. Freedom, courage, community. They've carried us forward, but they've also left wounds. The land endures it all. It absorbs the good, the bad, the ugly, and keeps going. It doesn't ask us to be perfect. It just asks us to keep showing up, to keep listening, to keep dreaming big, even when the path is complicated. That's what this old seeker is taking away. Not a neat answer, just a belief that shared ground still exists, under our feet, on the peaks, in the valleys, and in the silences between. Along with a quiet hope that the conversation isn't over yet.